So we're here today talking to Derek and John just a little bit about their company, NETFORTRIS. So, John, you're kind of the big cheese. So,
I'm always a big cheese. So, NETFORTRIS, we're celebrating our 25th year in the business this year. So, it's a big milestone for us. And what makes us different from most of the vendors you'll see is we have a full portfolio that serves all customers. So, we're not just going to be a one-trick pony where we can come in with UCaaS. We can actually do so much. So, from our circuit business to SD-WAN, network, broadband aggregation. We do have a phone system, managed security, managed Wi-Fi. That's a lot in a portfolio, but it's very unique in this industry because not many people can play that to a customer and say, hey, Mr. Customer, we can do all of these things for you. So you have one vendor to work with in us, one project manager, you have one company to contact for the entire thing. And that's really unique that not many people can say. So partners today are piecing together solutions. They're having to become a project manager for multiple vendors for their customer. And that's not what they got in business for. And so what we can do is actually create a lot of space for that partner to go out and look for their next deal, while we're trusted to be their vendor of choice and to be a trusted advisor for all of it. And so what we do early on is we put together solution architects, we put together engineering teams, and we take a team approach to building a customer. So from the first time that we meet them, we bring in a team that allows them to actually see the whole project from the beginning. You know, sometimes you'll get a sales rep in the past or other companies that will take the deal all the way to like the 30-yard line, 20-yard line, and then say, okay, let me bring in my solutions guys. And they're like, whoa, hold on a second. We need to start over because we see things that you didn't see as a sales guy. We do that way differently. We bring them in early. Guys like Derek, bring them in early so they can scope the solution. With a portfolio like ours, you have to do that.
Yeah.
It's really easy if you have one product to sell, but we have a bunch. And so when we do that, customers are happy, the solution's better, the partner actually sees the value of the entire portfolio, and it really works. And so what we do very well is retail. Multi-location. If you think restaurants, you think gas stations, you think grocery stores, you think clothing stores, but anything that is multi-location that needs all of those things, because there's one thing in common with all of those multi-location retail is they need those items. Our portfolio fits it perfectly. They need voice, they need the network, they need managed Wi-Fi, they need security more than ever, they need broadband aggregation, vendor aggregation. We do that. And if you run 100, 500, 1,000 location enterprise, that's very important. So we can take care of all of that.
We at NETFORTRIS believe that your UCaaS is only going to be as good as your last mile and the network that provides its access to that UCaaS service. So we look to manage the end-to-end all the way from the phone to the public network, provide security over that network through SD-WAN, MPLS, our core firewall options, and just provide that full end-to-end service to our customers to ensure that they receive the quality service that our products provide.
We've all been in the UC space for some time, and a lot of people talk about being able to plug and play, deploy the phones, and we all know that a lot of times will lead to a challenging experience for the client, especially in a retail environment where you're not going to have the expertise on staff. So as you think about the partner channel, and obviously it's the biggest show we've seen so far, what role do you see channel partners playing in terms of supporting and ensuring great outcome for the client?
It's a high level of communication. You can't communicate enough, and I can't say that enough, because if the channel partner doesn't communicate well with us, the experience is gonna show. So channel partners can provide a really valuable service. They know the customer a lot better than we do. A lot of times they have many years relationship with them for 2, 3, 4 different contract cycles. They know that customer. They have to communicate to us. What do they like? What do they don't like? How do they work? What is their environment like? That communication is valuable to us. They don't have to be the project manager because that's what we're going to do. That communication is valuable. Help us set up meetings when a need be. Help us run interference where we need it. Those type of things are really valuable to us.
And another thing that I'd like to say is that the complex or networks are getting much more complex these days. So that requires much more communication, much more research, much more upfront discovery to ensure that every piece of that customer's network is managed and addressed in the implementation, and that all those pieces actually come together and work the way that end user expects them to work whenever they're doing business.
Right.
Otherwise, they're not doing business.
Right. And are you guys still amazed at every time you come to this thing, you're seeing new vendors that new suppliers you've never heard of? So what advice would you guys give to partners that are, because obviously UCaaS is gaining, the adoption is accelerating in the market.
Yes.
And there's lots of different options to choose from.
Sure.
So what advice do you give to partners who are jumping in and starting to sell more UCaaS in terms of finding the right solution for the client? And then what kind of advice would you give to clients that are navigating this super competitive landscape?
I would say kind of stick to the one that brought you sometimes. There are a lot of people in this industry that are throwing UCaaS in because their portfolio is somewhere else in the business. You see a lot of these UC&C companies, the collaboration companies now throwing in UCaaS. Can they do it well? I don't know. Possibly. But NetFortris and Finality merged in 2017. Finality had an own proprietary UCaaS solution. Right. Built it from the ground up. It's a 15-20-year product that's been built and hardened. We have our own product. We've done it very well for a long time. That's what I would look at, is find somebody who's done it for a long time that continues to innovate and continues to grow that product, and not as a throw-in to what the company's core product is. If you look at a company that does something really well as their core product, that's what they were built on, and now they're just kind of throwing in something, I would look at that as a little bit of a flag. May not be, but you'll go with someone who's done it, knows it, they own it. If they own it, they can control it a lot more, and they can make the changes and updates a lot better than someone who doesn't own it, and they're bound to some other company to make those changes and upgrades and software enhancements. So we own it, and that's what I would look for, someone who owns it.
What do you, historically, the leading platform provider's been BroadSoft. They're now part of Cisco. What are you hearing in the market and amongst the partner community relative to what the impact is on the merger? And what are the types of questions that you're hearing from partners or customers that are on that platform?
Services are affected whenever these companies merge, and more often than not, especially if they're larger, they have some difficulty in merging. That might take years. The landscape moves so quick nowadays that our customers can't take that amount of time to allow these large companies to merge. So somebody more like us, NetFortris, we're a lot smaller, much more nimble, and our customers are going to be a much bigger fish in our pond rather than just getting lost out there in that wide sea with the bigger partners out there.
Yeah, I would say customer service gets affected a lot in these mergers, and you see a lot of them. We're going to see more of them. It's only going to get a lot more rapid, and it's probably not going to be a big game changer until you see one of the leaders in the industry get gobbled up and merged with someone. I think that'll happen, and I think it'll be interesting when it does. But like Derek said, you find that customer service is really the lagging part of it. Who owns the account? Who's working with these accounts? Who's servicing these accounts? That does get lost a little bit. But the large, big logo companies, I think everybody's kind of paused right now. There's not really a sense of dread or any sort of happiness about what's going on right now, because I think everybody's just taking a stop. Let's wait and see what happens here, because when the biggest dominoes start to fall, that's when people will really make some assessments. I haven't seen a big shakeup at the moment outside of just, hey, we don't know what's going on. Our customers are a little bit nervous, but there really hasn't been a giant, ground shift at the moment, at least what I've seen.
Right. What's the coolest thing you guys have seen so far during the first couple days?
Oh, wow. Well, a lot more technology here. I mean, every year there's a lot more vendors that show up, a lot more options to utilize utilize networks in different ways to get your name out there, to get your products out there, just to communicate, do business. So I've seen quite a variety of technology in that space as far as being able to provide more access from businesses to their customers, and also enrich the media and the content that their customers receive. And I've seen that displayed all over channel partners this year, and it seems to be helping in cohesion there between the numerous vendors that are out there, and building those relationships and ensuring those pieces all work together.
Coolest thing I've seen is the tech, the companies that I've never heard of that are at the show. This show appears to be bigger this year than last year by about 20-30%. I know they've opened up a new room with other vendors, so I think just the amount of vendors that are here, that's interesting. But I also think that, you know, from what I see and what I like to see is, or what's interesting about this industry is, this is a master agent business now. The traditional channel there's very little remnants of it left, where the VARs are signing direct agreements with people. This is a master business, and this show is really focused on the master agents, and you see their pull in the industry and how they're working. You know, a lot of the vendors that are here work exclusively through these masters more than anything, and that's been the biggest industry shift that I've seen, and what I like to kind of look and see how this is moving, because now you're seeing people getting into the master game, the smaller ones. They're trying to make names for themselves and really play against the big guys. That's an interesting thing to kind of monitor.
I probably had this year 15 or so people reach out to me saying, "Hey, I know you've been at this conference a bunch of times before. This is my first time going. Have you guys seen a lot of people here that are attending for the first time? And if that's the case, why do you think that is?"
Yes, I am seeing that a lot more, and I'm hearing conversations going back and forth about moving their own businesses more towards the channel focus, and that's definitely what we're seeing. As John was saying, you know, the direct side's going away. You know, these customers, especially the larger ones, are looking to those trusted advisors to find the right businesses to go with, the right vendors to go with, to provide the services that they need. So I think that's why a lot more are showing up. They're realizing that the channel is way more important than it was maybe 5 years ago, and that they need to move their business more in that direction.
I'm hearing trusted advisor lots and lots of times at this conference, so I always love asking sales leaders, what does that mean to you? Because I think it means different things to different people. So I'd love to hear your take on, you know, the new folks that are here, as well as your view on what that really means from your perspective.
Well, trusted advisor is easy. We use that term internally all the time. It's what I talked about earlier. Is we put these teams together. Like, the secret sauce in NetFortris is actually a team approach, trusted advisor. So we bring these guys in early to team up so that they trust us with the architecture. They trust us with the solution. We're not asking them, "Hey, what do you guys want?" and we'll get it for you. We'll actually sit down with them, trying to figure out what they're trying to accomplish, and become a trusted advisor. We don't just have sales engineers, we have solutions architects. I mean, and we have project managers. We involve them early so that we can be a trusted advisor. At the end of the day, they're trusting us to run their business. They're trusting us to run millions and millions of dollars over their network in transactions. You've got to trust the people you're working with. And when we're PCI certified, we can show them all of our certifications and say, "Hey, not only do we have the paper for it, but listen to us. Listen to how we're going to scope this. Listen to how we're going to let you accomplish your goals." That's what that means to me. Trusted advisor. Sit down, scope it, and then at the end of the day, we all love each other. And that's a process, but it works for us. And at the show, the first timers, you know, I see a lot of first timers, but it's because the channel's growing. Because these master agents are now a lot more skilled with their social media, with their advertising, their marketing, but they're also out recruiting traditional VARs. There's a lot of old hardware guys that used to run through the distribution channel that didn't know much about you know, MRCs and recurring commissions. They lived off of CapEx. This is an OpEx world now. This is a SaaS business. There's a lot of VARs out there that are coming to this business for the first time because they see their business dying. They see their business getting taken from people that they shouldn't. It's because they don't want to change their business model. So master agents are out recruiting those people, whereas guys like us in the past, or name any of the other guys out there, we're out trying to recruit them, but now the masters are recruiting them. So you've seen a lot of first-time guys come through because of that.
What fun fact is there about you that the world should know? Something.
A fun fact about me? Named after an old 50s country star, Fair and Young. That's kind of interesting. I've actually climbed I've climbed 35 of the top 53 mountains in Colorado, and I'm trying to get to all of them before I get too old to get to the real scary ones. And so that's what I like to do in the summertime, is climb.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Well, to take my mind off of the industry and kind of clear my head, I like to work on mechanical things, kind of take my focus away from the computer and the network environment and get my hands back on machinery. So I like to build motorcycles on the side. I'm more of a vintage motorcycle guy, and that's kind of what I would like to do.
Very cool.
That's good. Well, thank you guys for taking a few minutes to gather up and help us understand more about NetFortris. And so have a great show.
Thank you.
Thank you.